Family SUVs are a challenge to build in electric form. With electric vehicles, the aero profiles are important. When it comes to large, boxy SUVs, particularly three-row ones like the Rivian R1S, the Volvo EX90, or even the Kia EV9, the goal being to create the maximum room, the design engineers meticulously balance the aerodynamics of the vehicle with factors that are constantly challenging them. By nature, roomy cars are largely squared off in the rear. Moving towards the rear in a regular car, the roof slants down to improve the overall aero profile of the car. Not so in the EV9, which is boxy all the way. And the broad shape that brings the interior room adds to the weight of the vehicle and leads to larger wheels. All factors that impact efficiency. Going further, the larger wheels then demand that much more width and an even boxier shape. I wouldn't blame the creators for giving up on the aerodynamics altogether at some point when designing such a car. Exactly what seems to have gone into play with the Kia EV9, which seems to have gone all out to create a very roomy family electric vehicle on the lines of the Kia Telluride. In fact, its exact electric equivalent. So let's get into it. On the front side, the Kia EV9 makes a striking spread of its multi-module headlights. There is plenty of design for the lights to come up with here, with the LED accent strip and more of the lights in the bumper that bring the welcome pattern. The pattern can be customized in the GT line. It shows a small grille with electronically controlled shutters that seem appropriate for the relatively lower cooling that's required in an EV. Right at the front, you see the parking sensors and a 360-degree camera. So you have the ultrasonic sensors, I call the common sense sensors for the basic safety, and the radar sensors. Not sure if the EV9 brings the LiDAR to its US trims. The EV9 will offer two distinct headlight designs, trim dependent. A top-end 12 projector setup with digital signature lights and a more modest 2 projector setup. In the rear, the EV9 shows a fully squared off cargo area, a bit more prominently than even the Rivian R1S. The GT line comes with rear air suspension. Then the idea to create space makes the vehicle that much broader in the rear and reduces the potential to bring those slants and aerodynamic features that would counter resistance. It's all good with design objectives, but are useful things to keep in mind and to set the customer expectations right. The Kia EV9 brings full LED taillights with a wide body and vertical hatch. The taillight design is indeed unique and looks more so with the absolutely flat vertical rear side. To me, the EV9 seems like a van, with very few efforts to even apply some small curves etc. to improve the drag performance. I expect this car to offer at best a modest range, which in the real world could be 250 to 275 miles or thereabout, optimistically, even with a battery that's nearly 100 kilowatt hour. There will be plenty to distinguish in the interiors by trim in the Kia EV9, the higher trim coming with features that bring more comfort. The Kia EV9 has a tilt telescopic memory steering wheel and big legroom and headroom. That interior room appears even bigger if the moonroof is excluded. The dash has some imitation carbon fiber material at the bottom with some fabric insert and ambient lights, plus some sort of a soft touch injection molded material on top. A layer of soft touch material runs across underneath just above a large bin style glove compartment with multiple tiers. On the dash then you see the now common two-screen setup with some LED controls in the middle of a full LCD instrument cluster and a center display on either side. Under the center display or infotainment screen, whatever you may call it, are toggles for the separate temperature control of the two seats, along with the ones for the driving modes and fan speed. Above that is the power volume knob and then some touch controls for the infotainment functions. Over the instrument cluster, which has certain configurable options, you see a full heads-up display. In the top trim, the Kia EV9 has the most adjustable front seat. It has inflatable side bolsters, electric ottoman, inflatable seat bottom cushion, massaging seats on the driver's side, and only the electric ottoman on the passenger seat. The front seats have an optional standard size, manually sliding moon roof, 4-way lumbar support, 2-position memory seats, height adjustable seat belts, buttons accessible to the rear seat passengers to move the front seat forward and back. The front seat has the perforations for heating and ventilation. In the middle of the front door, you see the fabric inserts, then the imitation leather with a soft touch injection molded upper section of the door, And that's where the controls for the heated ventilated seats are placed along with some hard plastic mold storage that's fairly large. The center console on the EV9 has plenty of free space around. One USB-C charge and one USB-C input port. There are wireless charging options and a fairly large storage just underneath. The cup holders have a unique Kia design where you can push in the rings to make it into a flat storage area. The console also has a fingerprint sensor, a 360-degree camera button, auto brake hold and the hill descent control. The storage at the rear of the console is fairly shallow, with the sliding storage made available to the rear seats from there. In keeping with the conventional car design, the steering has plenty of buttons, starting with the drive mode and the 4-wheel drive lock button right in the center of the spoke. On the left are the buttons for the standard adaptive cruise control and some for the multifunction instrument cluster, probably some customizations. On the right side of the steering wheel are all the infotainment controls. The shifter with the power button are alongside the wheel, placed somewhat awkwardly. The row 2 has a powered ottoman and power reclining seats, and certainly a foot of legroom behind the driver's seat adjusted to about my height, which is 5'11". Heated and ventilated seats, USB-C charger ports, cup holders between the driver and passenger seats, a sliding center console that can actually function as a small table and storage in the same with the top retracted, a moonroof with powered shade that can be optioned, extending over the passenger head depending on the seat position. Space to get to the row 3 is always intriguing, and most 3 SUVs disappoint. Not to mention the actual space in the third row itself. Not the Kia EV9. It simply has tons of space in the row 3. It has at least 2 inches of extra headroom in the row 3 in comparison to any other EV. It probably beats the R1S by an inch and the Tesla Model X with over 2.5 inches in the third row headroom. Both the third row seat positions have latch anchors, USB-C charge ports and cup holders on each side. There is even a recline function in the row 3. In the trunk you see the USB-C ports, buttons to fold the row 2 with those for the row 3 being manual, a NEMA 515 outlet at 125 amps and a 12 volt outlet. The EV9 supports vehicle to load and you could find the related equipment in the front trunk in a new EV9. The EV9 brings a full 20 cubic feet cargo capacity even behind the row 3 and some storage under the floor arranged in sections where you may find the Kia provided electric vehicle supply equipment that it's probably discontinued with other models. We have already presented the specs of this car in early impressions. You can check that video here or in the description. We are laying out the same here along with a summary. The Kia EV9 comes with either a 76.1 kWh battery pack that delivers 182 kW battery power or a 99.8 kWh big battery option that delivers at 318 kW. 210 kW peak DC on the big battery and hold on, 235 kW or a larger peak DC on the smaller battery. The big battery will probably collect somewhere between 300 to 400 amps at a DC charger. Compare that to some 400 volt competitor like Rivian that will pick 500 amps. That's just a context and raises a road tripping concern. The EV9 is built on the eGMP platform and they are generally referenced as 800 volt cars. The true voltage is 632 volts nominal for the smaller battery and 552 for the larger one. Not only short of the spoken 800 but a higher voltage in the smaller pack and lower in the larger one, much like the DC rate. That's strange. I guess the 800 number is referenced in a broad context as a 800 volt class of car. Whatever be, it's in the documents and its interoperability with the available CCS charging infrastructure will be a case to look into. Again, the all-wheel drive trims get a smaller 1.1 cubic feet front trunk against the larger 3.2 cubic feet for the rear-wheel drive ones. That's clearly on the presence of the front motor. Kia is already processing good over-the-air updates and that's a plus. Kia does sport a low coefficient of drag, but that's a relative value. It's slippery in comparison to similar size cars. And even when speaking of 3-row cars, there will be better options. Its combined range could take a 30% plus hit on the highway, something to keep in mind. The software in the Kia is long way from where it needs to be. Even the basic navigation, which I found far below what's required. The 3-row SUV is a high demand family car. This is a car where you expect anybody to get into and reach their destinations with minimum technical skills. Something I take for granted in a Tesla, and I am afraid it's not what I see in a Kia as of now. Long trips will be an issue with this car, and an efficiency of 2 miles per kilowatt hour could be handsome. Giving all due credit to the amount of interior room and space that Kia has achieved, its battery voltage, its NACS roadmap are all work in progress. I don't expect it to clock anywhere over 90 kilowatts on a version 3 Tesla supercharger, even when it gets its native NACS port. I will be happy to be proven wrong. It's still a good car on a number of parameters, and its pricing is significant. It's listed a very low price trim which probably will be difficult to get your hands on, but we'll see. If you would like to see our full impressions of the 3-row Rivian R1S, click the link here or in the description. See you in the next one.